masters say that the Count of Riegelhoff's family would be less worried if the maid remained in the service of Lady Edith. The girl with ruby hair screamed that this would never happen, but suddenly her chest ached and it became difficult for her to breathe. Coughing, Lady Edith bowed low for lack of strength and was picked up by the newly arrived servant Sophia. She whispered to the mistress, said in her ear that they had not seen each other for a long time, and led Lady Edith to her room. Already in the chambers, the servant Sophia told that Shane was right when he said that the girl with ruby hair was well settled and living peacefully. The girl looked at the maid and realized that her appearance was expected, because according to the plot, episodes with investigations and poisoning begin with her. Sophia asked if Lady Edith had not sent any documents, and the mistress confirmed it. The maid concluded that false papers had been sent from the Ludwig castle on behalf of Lady Edith, and the handwriting had been forged. Sophia suggested not to talk about sad things, but rather to remind one scoundrel who felt freedom of her place and duties. The maid stopped beating Edith, and she went down to the floor and whimpered in pain, and realized that Sophia was striking precisely in places invisible to others. Sophia looked at the girl crawling on all fours and said that she did not expect such a betrayal of the family from her. Edith replied that she had not betrayed anyone, but had written a letter of warning sincerely, for there was no guarantee that the supporters of Archduke Lanston would win. The girl said that everyone knows that Count Riegelhoff gets rid of henchmen who help to achieve heights in the first place. The maid was very angry and said that the scoundrel had lost all her fear if she dared to insult her masters. Sophie furiously said that if the scoundrel was useless to the Riegelhoff family, the maid would kill her and put the blame on the Ludwig family. The next day, Lady Edith was working on the paperwork and remembered the day before with the despotic servant. The maid not only beat the girl, but also forced her to starve, saying that food must be earned. Sophia said that even a dumb animal would understand what was required of her in such a situation. Edith replied that it was funny to hear it from the Count's dog. The harsh answer made the maid freeze with a fork to her mouth. A second later, Sophia ran up to Lady Edith with her fists and promised to shorten her tongue. The maid pounced on the girl with ruby hair and said that she was not such a nasty ulcer at home. In Renan's office, the girl reflected that she had read about the bullying of Lady Edith since childhood. It inspired her to endure the terrible attitude now. Edith was standing at the bedside table when the Baron suggested that she liked the cookies very much, and the girl was embarrassed because she did not even notice how she had eaten everything. The girl with ruby hair was confused by Renan's question because there was only one cookie left on the plate. Edith tried to justify that the pastries were unusually delicious today and invited the Baron to taste the remaining lonely cookies. Renan refused and said that he did not like sweets. Edith looked at him and realized that it was true. The Baron looked like a lover of bitter and insipid food. Also, the girl with ruby hair noticed that Renan today looks much more beautiful than usual. Lady Edith decided to get the last biscuits, and Renan offered to order the servants to bring a second plate of biscuits, but the girl refused. Later, the girl greatly regretted her words, because at the end of the working day, the Duke's secretary said that he was leaving on a business trip for a week. Lady Edith was worried about whether she would be able to endure the bullying of the maid on her own, and remembered that she had introduced a bad habit during the probationary period. During the house arrest, the girl with ruby hair always ate in the room and alone, so the cooks and servants got used to it. Lady Edith sadly concluded that no one would think of having dinner with Edith, not even Killian came to eat with her. The girl realized that all her problems began with that terrible day when Killian took the servant Sophia from the castle of Count Riegelhoff into his service. Edith thought that her husband should have listened to his wife instead of believing Shane, and after a moment she was startled, because she was hungry and thinking about all sorts of stupid things. The girl got out of bed and ran to get ready for a walk in the fresh air, until the maid came and began her tortures. Sophia rolled the cart down the corridor, thinking that Edith had become different. She had been afraid of even being slapped in the face before, and she was easy to control. The maid remembered Edith's recent reaction to the blow. She did not even flinch and boldly looked at the offender. Sophia smiled ominously at the fact that she now had a new goal, to remove this unwavering expression from the face of the scoundrel. The maid was still rolling the cart when she heard a sweet woman's voice to Lady Edith, inviting her to drink tea together. Sophia knew that the voice belonged to Lady Eliza and remembered how, even before she left for the Duke's castle, Shane Riegelhoff asked for a favor. The young master said that Eliza Sinclair, whom he had long liked, lived in the castle, and asked the maid to gather unusual information about her. The guy asked to send information in a personal letter. Although Sophia was surprised by the request, she agreed to do everything that Shane instructed. Sophia sadly gripped the handle of the cart she was rolling and thought that she did not hope to become the master's wife, but would at least like to be there and help. She looked at Eliza Sinclair and could not understand how the Count's illegitimate daughter could seduce her master with her pretty face. A few hours later, Lady Edith was sitting in her room, thinking that she would soon go mad with hunger. She did not know how to find a way out of this situation. The girl with ruby hair knew that if she ate something outside the room, Sophia would make her vomit. Lady Edith remembered how Lady Eliza and Mr. Killian had offered tea that day, and the girl must have looked very pitiful. Killian's wife imagined how stupid she looked when she stared at someone else's food, and she cried sadly. The suffering was interrupted by a maid who suddenly entered the room. She was carrying something edible on a tray, which greatly surprised the mistress. Sophie held out a tray of cake and said that Lady Eliza had sent it, and the maid decided to give it to Edith so that the Ludwig family would not suspect anything. Lady Edith did not expect such a kind deed from Sophia, and she advised her to start eating as soon as possible, before the maid changed her mind. The girl was chewing contentedly when suddenly she began to cough up blood and realized that the food was poisoned. While Lady Edith was clearing her throat, she remembered something. Edith thought that the situation was similar to the episode from the novel about the poisoning that Edith had arranged, but in reality, she did not add poison to the food. The maid only feigned concern for the mistress and then smiled ominously. A few moments later, Sophia interrogated Eliza. Eliza claimed that she did not add poison anywhere, but just wanted to treat Edith to a pie. But Sophia continued to pretend to be a caring servant. Exhausted by poisoning, the girl remembered that this moment was described in the novel, in which Edith tried to portray Eliza as a criminal. The girl learned from the book that Lady Edith herself added poison to the cake sent by Lady Eliza, which causes stomachache. Killian and Cliff came to Edith's room for the commotion over the poisoning, and in front of them and Lady Eliza, Sophia was acting out a caring servant's play. The girl with the ruby hair came to her senses and tried to say something, but the maid chirped anxiously beside her. The maid advised the girl not to strain and be silent. Edith realized that Sophia was just trying to shut her mouth. Lady Edith ordered Sophia not to make a fuss or worry, as she had a severe stomachache, and apologized to Eliza for insulting the servants. But the governess recalled that the lady had recently vomited blood. Then Edith assumed that she had an acute allergy to peaches. Upon hearing this excuse, Cliff said it was ridiculous and ordered the room to be searched immediately. Lady Edith tried to resist this, because she did not want anything suspicious to be found in the chambers and put under house arrest again. Sophia turned into a bloodhound and called out to the young master as she found a jar with a skull sticker in the closet. The girl with the ruby hair claimed that it was not hers, and Cliff asked if Edith believed that someone else had entered the room. Edith thought that if the poison was found so quickly, then either Sophia was so stupid, or she had nothing to do with the poisoning and the jar was planted. Eliza pulled Cliff and asked him to stop pestering Edith with questions, because she was not feeling well. The governess was listening attentively to their dialogue. The young master smirked and promised to see him after the investigation was completed, as he would be interested in hearing excuses. When everyone had gone, Sophia was left alone with Edith and said aloud that the young master must have gone mad to search the room at once. Edith told the maid that, although she was building herself to be smart, she couldn't really decide anything on her own. The governess advised the scoundrel to shut up, otherwise she would kill her, and Edith mentally replied that then she would be free from the terrible pain in her stomach. In the meantime, Cliff asked the healer about the effects of this poison. She replied that the effect was not strong, stomach pain and bleeding. When Cliff left the doctor's room, Killian said that Lady Edith, the victim of the poison, was very ill. The guy asked the doctor if there was any anesthetic for this, but he replied that the medicine would not help Killian's wife. The young master did not understand the answer, because earlier the doctor said that this poison was not strong, and the healer explained that Lady Edith had been starving for several days. The doctor said that any poison for her now could be fatal. The young master couldn't believe his ears. The healer explained that starvation was common among aristocratic women, so they wanted to lose weight. Killian understood that this explanation did not suit Edith. The guy remembered that his wife usually ate various dishes and never denied herself anything, and her figure looked great. Suddenly the young master understood why Lady Edith, knowing about her condition, deliberately added poison to her food. Killian realized that his wife was a terrible and pathetic woman, because she decided to poison only because of the desire to attract attention to herself. The young master remembered that before her marriage, Edith Riegelhoff had a reputation for attracting public attention. The guy realized that Edith did not want to set up Eliza, but now she was in her shadow and felt forgotten by everyone. After talking to the doctor, Killian went to his wife's room, sat down by the bed, thinking that Edith was asleep, and asked in a whisper why she had added poison to the food. Lady Edith spoke faintly to her husband and said with regret that he again did not believe in her innocence. Killian was glad that his wife regained consciousness, but she told her husband to leave and rolled over on her other side. Edith lay and reasoned that it seemed as if she had let go of her own illusions about her husband, but for some reason it was a shame after meeting him. In the evening, all the members of the Ludwig family gathered in the Duke's study, Lady Eliza arguing that something had happened to Lady Edith. Cliff told Lady Eliza that she had seen with her own eyes a jar of poison found in Lady Edith's locker. The blonde girl suggested that if Edith wanted to frame her, why had she said she had fallen ill as soon as she woke up? Lady Eliza said, offended that she did not understand why everyone believed that Lady Edith was trying to harm, because the girl believed that she could become her friend. The girl said that she and her daughter-in-law got along easily because they were almost the same age, and then she remembered how much she had been waiting for Edith to come to the castle. If Edith heard the blonde girl speak now, she would probably consider her just an angelic character. A few days later, Lady Edith woke up with the idea of giving Lady Eliza something to thank her for saving her from starvation. After consulting with Mother, the daughter-in-law made a gift to the blonde girl in the form of thin silk threads. A week later, Edith had fully recovered. One day she was stretching happily, anticipating the start of work, and an angry maid was sitting at the table. Edith's furious husband ran into Edith's chambers, called the girl as Edith Ludwig, and asked how she could do such a thing again. The young master asked his wife if she would deny it this time, but Edith asked her to explain what had happened first. Killian said that Lady Eliza was embroidering with threads given to her by Edith and fell unconscious. The healer claims that she was poisoned. The girl with ruby hair said that this could not be, because the threads were packed at the time of purchase, after which they were immediately presented to Eliza. Edith remembered that in the original story, there is an episode with the poisoning of a blonde beauty, when Sophia smeared Eliza's needle with poison. The girl with the ruby hair had made such a gift on purpose so that the maid would not be able to send Lady Eliza. Lady Edith realized with regret that attempts to change the plot were pointless, but her wife was pulled out of the flight in her thoughts by her husband's scream. Killian asked his wife how this could happen, but she asked him to calm down and reason sensibly. Edith explained to Killian that the cake incident had drawn a lot of attention to her. Would she have poisoned Eliza at such a moment with her gift? The argument made the guy think, but he said that he could not fully trust Edith because there were many suspicious cases associated with her. At this moment, the girl with ruby hair had a brilliant idea. She suggested appointing a maid to look after her. Lady Edith said that in this way she wanted to avoid suspicion. The dialogue of the spouses was overheard by Sophia. She did not like Edith's proposal and was indignant, but the mistress said that she was innocent, so there was no reason to worry. Lady Edith asked her governess not to take this as supervision, but simply as an increase in the number of maids. Killian was upset and disappointed, but his wife embraced his hand so tenderly that the young master decided to agree to her request. A moment later, Killian was ordering the castle steward to appoint Anna as a servant to Lady Edith. The girl with ruby hair was pleased with the quick fulfillment of her wishes. If she had more time, she would easily get rid of Sophia. Edith thought of how much she was tired of being subjected to the excesses of a despotic governess and spitting to the tune of Count Riegelhoff. The young master finished talking to the steward and asked his wife to explain the poisoning of Lady Eliza. The wife asked her husband if the thread merchant had been inspected. Killian said that he was questioned first and realized that he would not risk his reputation. Lady Edith asked her husband if anyone had access to the gift after Lady Eliza had received it. He replied that only her maids, Killian and Cliff, had free access to Eliza's room, and the girl with the ruby hair thought for a moment. She assumed that someone was trying to harm Eliza and blame Edith for this, because if successful, she would be able to catch 2 birds with 1 stone. The young master was shocked by what he heard, but asked the girl to continue voicing his assumption aloud. Edith said that it could be the Earl of Sinclair, as it is rumored that his stepchildren tried to harm their father's illegitimate daughter several times. Killian said he hadn't heard anything about the rumors, and the ruby-haired girl said that Count Sinclair's spy might be among the castle's maids. Edith said that she had heard other rumors that Count Riegelhoff's people might be involved, adding that the Ludwig family was no better. The wife reminded her husband that initially the Duke's family framed her. It turns out that in this way they wanted to frame the Count of Riegelhoff. Killian shouted that he still could not forgive his father for this meanness. Edith was surprised to hear such words from her husband. Lady Edith spent a huge amount of time to prove her innocence to her husband, and now he finally realized that there are plenty of enemies. The young master concluded that the explanation was plausible, but that his brother and father were unlikely to believe it. Edith was surprised that Killian really believed her now, a pity that he hadn't done it during the cake situation. The girl said that she had no desire at all to be recognized by the Ludwig family. She wanted to be recognized only by Lady Eliza. The girl admires the blonde girl because living in the Duke's family, she still continued to protect Edith no matter what. Lady Edith explained that her gift had been sent as a thank you, but Lady Eliza would be very upset if she found out that the threads were an attempt at poisoning. The husband told his wife that he thought Edith hated Eliza, but the girl with the ruby hair was shocked by his words. The young master clarified that Edith might have been offended by the fact that a lot of attention went to Eliza, but it only made the girl laugh. She sat closer to Killian and said that she was Edith Ludwig and had no reason to be jealous of other women because of her popularity. The girl's cheeks turned pink from the realization that the day had come when she dared to say such tender words to her husband. Suddenly, the young master ran his hand through her ruby hair, and Edith thought that something was wrong with her hair. In a second, Killian's tender lips covered her lips. During the kiss, Edith managed to ask her husband many questions, but all of them remained in the girl's head. When the long kiss was over, Killian looked at his husband in fright and hurried to ask her forgiveness. Lady Edith replied that everything was fine, but later she was embarrassed and tried to understand what had happened to Killian, why he decided to do this. A few days later, the maid Anna came to the girl's chambers and said that the probationary period was over. Edith asked why, and Anna explained that the poison used for poisoning was a common species. The maid told Edith that the investigation had concluded that there was not enough information to draw conclusions at the moment. Edith imagined a sick Eliza and thought that she would forgive Edith, but Cliff would not just forget this incident. The news of the end of the probationary period reached the imperial palace and infuriated Princess Catherine Iberia. Cliff personally told the princess sensational information. He said that he was also surprised, because his father followed Killian's lead. Catherine said that she could not contact Eliza for a long time and find out if she was okay. The princess would have visited her, but her brother temporarily forbade her to leave the palace. Cliff sat and listened to Princess Catherine, who was very angry at this state of affairs, and decided that it was time to influence the situation. The princess lamented that even the Duchess, with whom she had a trusting relationship, did not report the incident. Cliff recalled the conversation about the poisoning in the Duke's office, when Killian said that he did not think Edith was to blame because there was no one in Eliza's room. The guy claimed that there were too many unknowns in this case. For example, why this particular object was poisoned. Cliff replied that it was obvious. Cliff concluded that the poison had been added to something that Eliza would surely touch, and Killian shouted that his brother was in a hurry to jump to conclusions. Killian said that Edith could not get past the palace guards because she was too well trained. The Duke agreed, and said that there was truth in his words. Her father rose from the table and said that the conversation was over because after the recent incident with the pie, Edith and the maid's belongings had been thoroughly checked. Cliff told the princess that the Duke was going to visit the imperial palace soon. The young master did not yet know that his father would not be alone. One morning, Matushka asked her daughter-in-law if she had been able to rest during the probationary period. Edith said that she felt great and mentally clarified that this was thanks to Anna, who brought Edith a lot of delicious dishes. The Duchess said that Renan asked about the girl's well-being and offered to return to work in his office again. The Duchess told her daughter-in-law that before returning to work, she needed to visit the imperial palace. The princess wanted to see her. After a while, the girl rode in a carriage alone with the Duke and could not believe her luck. She recalled that in the original story, Edith not only did not ride in the same carriage with her father-in-law, but she could not get into the imperial palace either. On the way to the imperial palace, Lady Edith was worried because she did not know why Princess Catherine had summoned the girl. The Duchess had previously explained to her daughter-in-law that His Majesty and Her Highness had always treated the Ludwig family well, and now they were interested in Edith. Her mother was positive, but Edith had a premonition that the reason for the trip was bad because the Emperor's sister was known for her disregard for etiquette and the rules of decency. The girl has heard that the princess is a famous eccentric who acts on a hunch, refuses to wear dresses, and wears a short haircut. It is well known that the harsh and nimble princess becomes meek only under Lady Eliza. Catherine does not obey the system and acts freely. When Edith read the novel, Her Highness was a character the girl liked, but now she was afraid to meet Catherine in person. The girl looked out the window of the carriage and hoped that the unbiased character of the princess would allow her to take Edith's side. For the first time, Catherine saw Lady Eliza in the arms of Cliff, her first love, but despite her jealousy, she was able to fall in love with the blonde beauty. The daughter-in-law thought that if the princess could feel warmth for Eliza and begin to cherish her more than Cliff, then Edith would be lucky. While in the imperial palace, the girl with ruby hair realized that her expectations for a good meeting with the princess had not come true. The atmosphere was tense because Edith could not utter a word until Princess Catherine accepted her greeting. Finally, Princess Catherine broke the silence and asked the girl if she was the daughter of the Riegelhoff family, but she replied that her name was Edith Ludwig. Her Highness said that it was not important and said that there would be no tea at the meeting, because it is known that Edith is fond of pouring poison on people. The girl realized that Cliff had already informed the princess about the events in the castle and said that she had never used poison. Edith added that she could not explain her past actions and bad reputation, so she did not understand that Her Highness believed rumors. The princess advised Lady Edith not to be conceited, because the marriage with Killian was negotiable. Duke Ludwig could not give up the idea of becoming related to the Count of Riegelhoff. Edith replied that she understood this, but Princess Catherine did not believe in the sincerity of the girl's words. Her Highness, with a grin on their faces, said that Edith's answers sounded implausible and began to shout that they could see through the girl. The princess suggested that Edith thought she was ridiculous, dreamed of taking the throne. The girl protested and added that she respected Her Highness. Edith remembered that in the second part of the novel there is a scene when, after suppressing the rebellion of Archduke Lanston, Eliza walks with Catherine in disguise. In that scene, Carton hid her identity, so she put on a wig for the first time and went with Eliza to a clothing store to try on a dress. After this walk, the princess stops behaving as before, takes on the duties of the imperial family, and heads the Soviet society. When reading the novel, Edith concluded that she liked the free and wayward princess, who did not listen to the opinion of others, more. Lady Edith told the emperor's sister that she hoped that Catherine would not listen to biased aristocrats and would appreciate her fairly. When the girl returned to the ducal castle, she began to torment herself with wondering if she had lost her hair in front of Her Highness. Edith came to the conclusion that it was time to cultivate the habit of not paying attention to the beauty of the interlocutor and not losing the ability to think sensibly. The girl decided to stop flying in her thoughts and went to work in the office of the Duke's secretary when someone grabbed her by the arm. The girl with ruby hair turned around and saw her maid Sophia, who had grabbed Edith by the throat and was talking about some last chance. Sophia said that the villain needed to steal the tax documents about the Duke's main property. If she did not fulfill the order, then the maid would kill her. The governess said that when she learned that the objects for embroidery had been sent to Edith, she thought that the scoundrel had finally come to her senses. Sophia said that she was angry when she found out that the gift was a trick to get rid of her, and the toadstool had nothing to do with the poisoning. Panting, Edith realized that Sophia had nothing to do with the poisoning, and the maid explained that she could kill the scoundrel, especially since the master had given her permission. The governess let Edith go and said that she had a chance to make things right. Catching her breath a little, the girl asked what would happen if they recognized Ludwig. Sophia replied that in this case she would kill the toadstool and arrange everything in such a way that suspicion would fall on the Ludwigs. The girl suggested that she could reveal the evil servant, but she laughed and replied that if the scoundrel could do it, she would have done it long ago. The maid told Edith that as soon as she turned her in, Killian would find out about his wife's true nature, leave her, and return to Lady Eliza. Sophia said that in case of betrayal, the master would spoil Edith's life so much that it was even scary to tell. The governess took Edith by the chin and said that if she managed to steal her documents, Sophia promised to be gentle with her. Edith said that she could predict the future of the servant. She explained that the Riegelhoff family would still be destroyed, no matter how hard her followers tried. The girl with ruby hair said that even Shane Riegelhoff, adored by Sophia, would not be able to escape his terrible fate. After a while, Lady Edith finally came into Renan's office and explained that she had been late because of a trip to the imperial palace. For a moment, Edith wondered if the Duke's secretary had heard of the rumors of poisoned embroidery items. Renan replied that everything was in order and suggested that we start working, because a lot of documents had accumulated during her absence. Edith looked at the table, where a stack of papers was perched. The Duke's secretary, seeing her puzzled face, advised her not to rush and work at a comfortable pace. The girl began to work with pleasure and again felt the pleasant smell of paper, enjoyed the creaking of the pen and the cool air. The girl worked in the Duke's office and thought that this was the safest and most comfortable place in her past and present life. Lady Edith gave the Duke's secretary the processed documents, and he said that the girl coped well with the documents and concentrated quickly. The girl was pleased to hear a compliment from her boss, and she replied embarrassedly that there was nothing difficult in her work. Renan said that if everyone worked and thought like Lady Edith, he wouldn't have to fire so many people, and added that the girl's help helped him out. The Duke's secretary looked through the documents and said that the girl's papers were always carefully and neatly organized. One of Edith's completed documents was stained, and tears came to Lady Edith's eyes. She tried to remove them and pull herself together, but tears did not stop flowing down her cheeks. The girl was ashamed and embarrassed for her behavior. The Duke's secretary rose from his chair, took Edith's hand, and said that she should not be so harshly suppressed as if she were being chased. Renan took a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the tears from Edith's cheeks, saying that she could not hold back her emotions or lose control of them. The fair-haired guy told the tearful girl that the documents were not urgent, and she did not need to rush to work. The door to Duke's secretary's office was ajar, and Killian was passing by and overheard their conversation. One day, Lady Edith came up with the idea that people who play a minor role in the novel, such as Renan, do not depend much on the plot. Edith greeted the servants and wished them a good day, because she had decided to make friends with the secondary characters. After a moment, Edith realized that friendship with the servants was unlikely to help her, and suddenly she remembered Sophia's words that Killian would kick her out of the palace. At the thought of her husband, the jealousy in her heart made the girl wonder if Killian had visited Lady Eliza that day. One evening, Killian came to his wife's chambers, sat down on the bed, and asked why she did not come to his room after work. The girl did not find an answer, and generally did not understand what was happening, but the guy did not have enough of the blush that appeared on Edith's cheeks. The young master asked Lady Edith if she hadn't liked their night together. She was just dumb with shock. Then the husband touched his wife's hand and asked why she did not come after the end of the probationary period. Barely recovering from the provocative question, Edith could only ask Killian why she had come, to which the husband said that usually she always does this, seduces with her body to prove her innocence. Edith thought that her appearance in her husband's bedroom could be taken for the act of a depraved woman who covered a lie with her body. Killian said that it really worked last time, and Edith managed to trick him. At first, the wife asked if her husband was sober, and then said that she had always been innocent, and that night she had not seduced anyone on purpose. The girl suggested that the guy misunderstood everything. The husband replied that there was nothing incomprehensible here, because the wife came to her husband's bedroom and kissed him. Killian concluded that Edith simply did not like the last time. She was not satisfied, so she went to look for other prey. At this moment, the girl finally made sure that her husband was drunk, got angry, and said that she did not understand what kind of prey she was talking about. The young master clarified that everyone knows that the girl is popular among guys. Stories continue to appear, confirming her sexuality. Edith mentally replied to her husband that her heroine in the plot seduced men on the orders of Count Riegelhoff, but this did not go beyond flirting, and the rumors were inflated and exaggerated. The guy sat down close to the girl and said that Edith was a specialist in seducing men because next to her all self-control was lost. Killian thought about the power of attraction to his wife and realized that she was amazing. All this time she was kind and sweet to others. She understood art. The guy remembered how Edith was happy with food like a child, and she responded to any rudeness calmly and did not break down into emotions. The husband realized that his wife had always been looking for the most rational solution, despite the severity of her situation. The young master remembered how she had managed to convince the Duke with her reasoning, since no one had even thought of such a thing. In front of Killian's eyes there was a picture of how, having promised to conduct the investigation fairly, he was standing at his wife's chambers. The guy realized that Edith had always been suspected, but she never complained or showed her husband her pain. The young master realized that Edith, instead of asking Killian for help, preferred to share her problems with Renan. At that moment, the guy realized that his wife did not like the night together. She just took advantage of her husband and threw him away. The young master thought that Renan was simply behaving like a gentleman, and Edith, a cunning fox, decided to take advantage of this and seduce him. Killian looked at Edith Ludwig and realized that he did not have these terrible thoughts now. Suddenly, the young man noticed a mark on his wife's neck and indignantly asked her what it was. Without waiting for an answer, Killian turned Edith's back to him, pulled down her nightie, and saw many bruises. The young master concluded that such bruises could not have been caused by an accidental blow. They had appeared about a day or two ago. Killian asked his wife why she had not told anything earlier and who had done it, but Lady Edith was silent. The young master thought that if it had been done by someone from the manor, the girl with the ruby hair would have told him everything long ago.
Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.